Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to REGUA. What is REGUA? Aha, let me explain you. The Atlantic rainforest in Brazil is one of the most deforested rainforests in the world. Let me show you some cool plants and animals I've seen here. The future of this rainforest is uncertain, however, and this is why I came to Brazil to help. Wow! That looks extremely beautiful, doesn't it, ladies and gentlemen? This is Bart Coppens talking to you from the country of Brazil. Yes, people, I am currently in Brazil. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Bart Coppens, and today I want to show you something special. Everybody knows about the Amazon, but who knows about the Atlantic rainforest? This behind me, ladies and gentlemen, is called the Atlantic rainforest, and it's totally different from the Amazon rainforest. It is one of the bigger rainforests that you can find in South America. And currently I am in the country of Brazil. That's right, Brazil. Because I want to study the Atlantic rainforest and some of its wildlife. Now this here may look beautiful, but sadly I have bad news. The Atlantic rainforest is one of the most deforested rainforests in the world. In fact, it's said that over 85% of the original forest cover of the Atlantic rainforest has already been lost forever. And what remains is being heavily exploited by agriculture. And this is why I have signed up as a volunteer by our conservation organization that helps with reforestation and the conservation of wildlife here in Brazil. And for the next 2 months or 6 weeks, I'm going to be staying here. I joined a natural reserve that is called REGUA. It's short for Reserva Ecológica de Guapiaçu. And REGUA is a special conservation project that helps to restore the Atlantic rainforest. It is a privately owned natural reserve that buys up land in the surrounding areas from farmers and other residents, reforests the land and takes care of it in a way that introduces wildlife. If you want to know more about REGUA, then there's good news, because this is going to be an introduction to REGUA and an introduction to the place where I am going to spend the next 6 weeks of my life, studying wildlife as an entomologist, as a YouTuber and as a nature lover. Welcome to REGUA. Let me show you what it entails. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why I came as a volunteer to Brazil, to REGUA. What is REGUA? It stands for Reserva Ecológica de Guapiaçu. Hope I pronounced it right, I don't speak Portuguese. But REGUA is a conservation project. And it essentially comes down to buying land that is deforested or buying pristine forest locations in order to protect it from reforestation. But that is not all. REGUA is actively involved in research and also in reintroduction projects and monitoring projects of rare and endangered wildlife. And this place is where I'm going to spend almost 2 months and on a consistent basis make videos for YouTube, but also working here as an entomologist. My specialization is butterflies and moths. I came here to Brazil to study butterflies and moths for the sake of their conservation and monitoring the species that live here in the area, but also to educate you about REGUA and why it is important for the environment. I'm happy that me and my channel can make a difference and educate you about this awesome project. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to give you an exclusive tour of REGUA. This place I am going to spend almost 6 weeks as a volunteer entomologist, as somebody who is interested in conservation, hoping to contribute to this project, and maybe also show it to people on social media so more people become aware of it. Let me give you a tour of the place. One of the first things that you will notice if you enter REGUA is what is called a tree nursery. Since deforestation is happening in this region on a massive scale, REGUA is committed to reforestation. But in order to reforest lands that have been deforested, you need a good amount of trees. And that is why here there is a tree nursery where young baby trees are being grown and then being planted in areas in which the forest has been lost in order to restore it. Let me show it to you. It's really cool. Ah, here it is, the tree nursery. Let's have a closer look at it, alright, shall we? Here's young trees being grown. So, take a look at some of this, people. So all of these are, of course, native trees and plants. Trees that belong in the Atlantic rainforest. Trees that should be here, but are now absent in a lot of places. Now, forest is very important because the roots of plants, they capture fresh water. They retain water in the soil. And they also capture soil particles. Now, why these things are important, I'm going to explain to you right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, in a lot of areas that have been deforested, you will notice that there are common problems around the world. One of those problems is a lack of drinkable water. See, plants do the environment a service by capturing fresh water, by capturing drinkable water with their roots and retaining it. And when the leaves from these plants fall to the floor and decompose, they leave behind a layer of humus. And this layer of humus can also often capture and retain water. So in areas where there is deforestation, what you'll see is there is often a loss of drinkable water. This is also because of erosion. The second thing that plants and trees do is they use their roots to capture and basically hold the soil particles in place. What happens if you cut down tropical rainforests? You often get to see things like mudslides and erosions. And it happens. For example, here recently during my stay here in Brazil, during a particular hefty storm, I believe a lot of people drowned and died from a massive mudslide that happened here in the direct area. And that's because when you remove the trees from the environment, the soil becomes loose and washes away after every rain. The soil starts to erode, the soil starts to slide. This can cause collapses in city districts, for example, and cause massive damage to human settlements and environments alike. On top of that, the degradation of the soil will ensure that less plants can survive there and will cause it to dry out. Currently I am in Brazil, but I've been in many other tropical countries around the world, for example Cambodia, where I worked 2 months. And all of these places with deforestation have the same problem. Shortages of drinkable water, which is terrible for humans and wildlife, soil erosion and a loss of forest cover, which becomes a vicious cycle. So these reforestation efforts that are being made here are fantastic, and I'm proud to be here as a volunteer. Now, I could sit here, I could stand here, I could blah 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 and talk all day about how good reforestation is. But more powerful if I show you an example with your own eyes. So behind me, these are pastures. Here is where cows are grazing. Now maybe if I walk out of the picture for a second, you can see what the situation is like. So these are pastures, basically. They are used for agriculture. This is where beef is produced, where crops are grown, for example. You get the point. They are mostly grassy plains with a small number of trees, which are probably fruit trees in them. Now for food production this is brilliant, but of course for wildlife this is worthless. And here is another example. Much places in the Atlantic rainforest that used to be rainforests are now fields of cassava. Of course people grow other crops here too than cassava. Locally it's known as manioc. And again, this is a crop that really thrives here. And many of these farmlands and pastures is what used to be a rainforest. But now much of this forest cover has been lost. And now it kind of looks like this in a lot of places. So why am I showing you these pastures, right? That's because I am currently at the edge of REGUA, the edge of the REGUA Reserve. And to show you the difference it makes, all I have to do is flip this camera around. Wow. Now that's a massive difference, isn't it? So this behind me is the start of the National Reserve, Reserva Ecológica de Guapiaçu. And this area here behind me has been conserved and reforested by REGUA since I think it was a few decades ago. And let me show you this dramatic difference. This is Brazil as it is becoming today. And this is Brazil as it used to be before humans disturb it and turn it into cropland. See the difference? This is the difference REGUA makes for the environment. Now, I am not saying that all farmers are bad or evil or destroying the environment. That would be hypocritical because I like to eat. Every human needs food and water to sustain itself. In particular, some food such as beef or meat in particular, but also things like soy, cassava, banana tree, are things that are grown here and are things that I also consume from time to time. So I am part of the problem too. There is nothing wrong with farming, there is nothing wrong with food production. Humanity and the future of humanity depends on farmers. The problem is the scale of which it is happening, the massive, unsustainable and often industrial scale in which forest is being turned into farmlands. Farming is necessary, food production is necessary. Making a living for the people in Brazil is important and necessary. However, the scale of which is happening continues to change the land from what it used to be into something that is more like scar tissue or an open wound to Mother Nature. It is the loss of forest cover, making the Atlantic rainforest in Brazil probably one of the most deforested rainforests in the world. And that's a problem. And that's why I came here as a volunteer, to tell you about REGUA and the difference it makes. People, I am young, I am ambitious, and I hope that sometime in my life I will achieve something similar to REGUA to help the environment. But before that time I will come here to promote people who have done such things instead. Look at all this forest cover. REGUA is doing some good work here. All of this is the edge of the natural reserve. Fantastic, isn't it? And I'm going to show you some of the animals that live here as well. One of the most famous areas here in REGUA. Well, REGUA owns many patches of lands that are now protected and conserved. One of the most famous is these. They are called the wetlands. The wetlands are absolutely mind-blowing. Just look at that amazing portrait of mountains here below me. Wow. The wetlands here are absolutely flourishing with wildlife. And in fact, there is one animal in particular that I would like to talk about. You see, tapirs used to live here in the direct region, but were extinct, apparently, at least in this particular area. But thanks to REGUA, the tapir has been reintroduced. And mind you, this is a natural reserve, this is not a zoo. So finding one of these tapirs will maybe cost a lot of effort. I've only seen them once, and I was lucky to see them up close. Let me show you the tapirs that have been reintroduced here thanks to REGUA. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the tapirs that went extinct in this region have been reintroduced by REGUA. And if you are as lucky as I am, you can have a close encounter with one. That being said, they don't show themselves every day, and REGUA is not a zoo. These are wild animals, so you do need some good luck on your side to see one. They are not shy and they don't care much about your presence. Tapirs are vegetarians that spend a lot of time in the water, that feed on a diet of aquatic plants, but they also like to come onto land and eat delicious fruits, like avocados, bananas and jackfruits, for example. This tapir, which I was lucky to encounter in REGUA, lives in a completely reforested area. Without REGUA, neither the tapir or the forest it currently lives in would exist here. Isn't that amazing? That's fantastic, isn't it? I like to think it is, you know. I always wanted to do something for the environment. And so this place for me is very inspiring. And of course the tapir isn't the only thing you can find here. There's a whole wide range of rare birds, animals, plants and butterflies. Let me show you some of the wildlife I encountered just by walking some of the trails here, which everybody can walk. Let me show you. Now you can imagine that the conservation of such large areas and the acquisition of land may potentially cost millions of dollars. So how is all of this financed? Well, one part of the answer is of course donations from things like companies who are looking to contribute to conservation projects. But the other side of the story is also tourism. When tourists come here, and yes, we do accept tourists, the income from the tourists is used well, as a stream of income that contributes to the maintenance and conservation of this area. Wow! Buying so much land, conserving it, inviting researchers, and of course the staff that works here, the facilities, all of that must surely cost millions of dollars. That's true. So how does REGUA do it? Well, this place gets investment or donations from huge companies. Usually it's companies that want to do something for the environment. In fact, in one instance I was surprised to learn there's even an oil company who invests in this place. But basically it's really all types of environmental funds, wildlife trusts, but also private companies who invest in this place, who donate to it, and this helps REGUA maintain itself. But the other side of the story is tourism. That's right, REGUA also accepts tourists. And that's why I say anyone can visit. If you are watching this right now, you can visit as well. Tourists are welcome here and can book a vacation here. Let me show you the tourist accommodation because I'm sure you're curious. Alright people, so behind me is the common area where people hang out, volunteers alike. There's even a small kitchen where people can have dinner. Most of my time here at REGUA, I spend my time here at the dinner table talking to various researchers, volunteers, other enthusiasts, and it's also an area where you can have meetings, lunch, special events, etc. Now, ladies and gentlemen, behind me are some of the tourist lodges. If you're watching this video and you're thinking, Bart, wow, all of this nature looks very good to me, I want to visit as well. Well, good news, because you can visit here. Everyone can visit this place. Students, tourists, even volunteers. So I would recommend checking out the REGUA website if you're interested in seeing this place. Personally, I don't sleep here. This is for tourists. And I'm actually not a tourist. I'm here as a scientist. So I use one of the scientist and research accommodations, which are also nice, but I guess less luxury. Because, well, if you're here as a researcher, you don't need all this extravagant wealth, of course. So I have a modest hut, but it's really nice. Let me show you. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now behind me here is the tourist accommodation at REGUA. It's true, this is the common area for tourists. And this is most likely where some of you are going to be if you choose to spend your holiday here at REGUA. Last but not least, for the tourists, there is even a swimming pool that you can use. Which is very convenient because it can get extremely hot here in Brazil sometimes. Over 36 degrees Celsius sometimes, in fact. So in that case, the swimming pool is a useful luxury. Now, ladies and gentlemen, now I'm inside the tourist accommodation. So if you decide to visit REGUA, here you can have a small impression of what we have to offer here inside. Let me show you. You can meet a variety of people here, from tourists to scientists to volunteers. Some of them interested in the environment, some just spending their time here as a vacation. And what's interesting is there is even a library on some of the native animals, so you can look them up if you see them. Moths and butterflies, reptiles and amphibians, odonata, mammals, orchids, trees. Talk about educational. The tourist accommodation has over 10 bedrooms, includes a lunch, dinner, coffee, a small library, and it's air conditioned. It also has hummingbird feeders, fruit feeders and more that attract monkeys, birds, tapirs, rare butterflies and moths and more. It's very luxury in the heart of nature. As you can see, there is an assortment of hummingbird feeders that attract a wide variety of hummingbirds. If you're curious to see what species, let me show you. Not just that, this construction here behind me is a bird watching tower. So if you are into bird watching, there's a lot of facilities here for you to use. If you appreciate birds, coming to REGUA is a good idea. We have bird watching towers and bird feeders, and in this case the hummingbird feeders can attract a wide variety of species. I have seen at least 3 different species just today, but I'm sure there is more. Some can be extremely colorful, as you can see, while others can be brown or black or have long tails. If you choose to book the tourist house, it's surrounded with bird feeders, so make sure to grab your camera. The best times to see hummingbirds seem to be very early in the day or in sunny afternoons. These feeders are filled with nectar for birds and are cleaned and refilled frequently. They have the fastest metabolic rates of many warm-blooded animals and need to feed many times per day to sustain themselves. I am no bird specialist myself, so if anyone knows the names of these species of hummingbirds so I can identify them, I would be grateful. Now, if you don't like walking long trails, REGUA also has a wide selection of wildlife and bird watching lodges, such as this one. I've seen at least 2 bird watching towers and several bird watching huts. I'm sure there's even more. Now here you can see things like rare kingfishers, capybaras, caiman, fish, but really a huge diversity of birds. In fact, I see there's a nice image. There you go. Here's just a small selection of the birds who can show up here. The ringed kingfisher is a really nice one, and the Amazon kingfisher. Some of these birds are really fantastic. The boat-billed heron. And all of these are associated with wetlands, of course. Now, if you are into insects, I have good news for you. You see, ladies and gentlemen, here at REGUA we have something that is called a moth wall. And this is not something that you will see in any other tourist place. Let me demonstrate to you how it works. You can plug it in And here is a special mercury vapor light bulb which attracts a wide assortment of insects at night, in particular moths. So if I plug it in, this light will go on, and at night it will attract a whole assortment of insects. As you can see, there's even still some insects here from last night, such as this beautiful Automeris moth. Can you see it? Fantastic, isn't it? But it looks even cooler at night. And this is what a moth wall looks like at night. It's pretty much full of interesting insects waiting to be documented and photographed by hobbyists or entomologists alike. Is that not fantastic? Let me show you some awesome species I found here during my stay. To find the species of moths that you want to see, you need to be a little bit lucky, because different species show up at the light every day. Here's a selection of moths I have found at the light, however. This is a Ricynthis hippodamia, and they can show up at the moth wall near the tourist house. It's a giant silk moth. Also very common here is Automeris melanops, a species of Automeris from the Brazilian lowlands, with beautiful eye spots. Let me ask you people, how many places are there in the world where tourists have their own moth trap? Not much, I tell you. If you are lucky, you may also find the world's largest moth, the white witch or Thysania agrippina. This moth has a wingspan of up to 30 centimeters reportedly, and I was lucky enough to find some at the light. They definitely don't show up every day. You may also find its smaller cousin, the black witch, that is smaller but still a very large species of moth, all things considered. And as you can see, there was also no lack of hawk moths. There are over 100 species of hawk moth that you can find at REGUA, if you prefer those kind of moths. Let me show you some more awesome species I found here before we move on, just to inspire you a little. You can literally go here and you already have your own moth trap every day. Now this is convenient if you are into insects the way I am. You see, if you want to study moths in South America, it's often mandatory for you to bring your own equipment, your own moth trap, your own mercury vapor light bulb, maybe even a generator to generate power. But here at REGUA you can go to the tourist lodge and you have access to a moth wall that is always operational. You don't have to bring your own moth trapping equipment here. If you come to REGUA, you can look at moths every day, because this is part of the facilities here. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, there's a bunch of small houses here for researchers and volunteers. Now I joined REGUA as a researcher / volunteer. I research butterflies and moths. But let me just show you some of the accommodations here. It's comfortable if you come here. Now, my room, I need to clean it up, people. I made a little bit of a mess here because I'm a pig, and my room looks like a dorm room. But hey, if you live here, it's probably going to look more comfortable, and there's going to be less bottles of vodka on the table. But I have my own mini fridge, and I have many bedrooms, as you can see, with ceiling fans. So this is more for students and volunteers rather than for tourists who pay more to come here. But it's still a nice accommodation, isn't it? Here's where I do my research. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that is not all. In REGUA we also have a banana feeder. It is near the tourist lodge. Can you see? Here's the tourist lodge. And here is a feeder plank with, well, that regularly contains fresh fruits, in particular bananas. And this helps to attract a lot of wildlife, such as rare birds, butterflies, really interesting moths and more. Let me just show you the stuff that's attracted to this. What?
It's called Unleaders Midnight.
Wow, where did you see it?
It doesn't
Oh, you're so lucky, I haven't seen that one yet.
It was, yeah, just where the concrete ends on the track start.
Huh. What's also really cool about REGUA is they welcome researchers and biologists with open arms. Did you know that there is teams of researchers here studying spiders, tapirs, capybaras, mammals, monkeys, but also butterflies and moths? And this is why I am here to contribute as an entomologist. Did you know REGUA has published a book on butterflies? Take a look at this. This is over 10 years of hard work, taking pictures and writing. If you guys wonder why I catch and handle butterflies to photograph them sometimes, this is the reason, is to contribute pictures and information to science and conservation here at REGUA. Personally, I am a little bit of a specialist in butterflies and moths. And that's another thing we have to talk about, because one of the things that makes REGUA special to me and why I chose to come here is because they invest heavily in entomology and the conservation of invertebrates as well. This is very unusual because I've seen many natural reserves who are committed to protecting things like, I don't know, tigers, lions, giraffes, elephants, or in Brazil, jaguars, puma, tapirs. But you rarely see a place that invests so much in also protecting the animals that may not be as charismatic, that may be less popular, you know, that are not vertebrates. Insects are so important to the environment and they get so little attention. And I'm happy to say that REGUA is the exception to the rule. Here in REGUA, as you can see, you can find an enormous diversity of butterflies and moths. I think that there's over 800 species that you can find here directly on this natural reserve. One of such butterflies is keeping me company right now. It's the 88 butterfly. It's a very beautiful species. It's black with, see, with blue iridescent bands on its wings. It's a fantastic butterfly that's common here during the summer season. It even lands on people just to drink salts and minerals from your skin. A fantastic animal. And I'm happy that it's keeping me company right now. But one of the ways that REGUA is investing in the environment here and its insects is by offering entomologists a place to study and work. In fact, the butterfly fauna here is so interesting is that REGUA published a book on butterflies. Now this was a lot of work. I believe it was over 10 years of work. A guide to the butterflies of the Serra dos Orgas, southeastern Brazil. Now it was written by George Bizarro and Alan Martin, two people that work here currently at REGUA and have been for a very, very, very long time. And together they are two entomologists that are studying the invertebrate fauna here in the area. So let me show you an impression of the book. As you can see, it contains many pictures of some of the local species of butterflies. And it is one of the reasons I came here. Those of you who are familiar with my work and my YouTube channel know that I am a lepidopterist, which is somebody who studies butterflies and moths. In particular, my passion and my specialism is moths rather than butterflies. And while a beautiful book has been written on the butterflies, not much has been written on the moths. So the reason I am here is because I hope to contribute to the level of knowledge of butterflies, but also particularly the moths in this area, and also do some research. But I think it's fascinating and very important. Here, as you can see, the book even has the REGUA logo. For me, it's so important to see that there are still places in the world who invest in insects and their conservation. As somebody who is an entomologist who studies moths, it's always so saddening to see how little attention and how little care these animals receive while they are so important for the environment, you know. Insects play vital roles as pollinator, but also as food for other animals. For example, there's a lot of bats and birds and rodents, but also stuff like spiders, most of which diet mostly consists of moths or sometimes they're caterpillars. And the fact they get so little attention is frustrating. So it's very refreshing to see, you know, a place that is welcoming to people who are willing to conduct research on these animals, and a place to monitor and conserve them. Ta-da! This is a fantastic book, isn't it? I'll tell you guys more about the book later in another episode in which I'll do a book review. But this is just fantastic, and you can imagine the amount of work and investment that was put in this, you know, it's incredible. So, me as a lepidopterist was pretty happy to discover this place. And anyone can visit it. Tourists, researchers, volunteers, everyone. You can visit as well. It's only when we work together, you see. It's only when we work together that the future generations of humans on our planet also get to see these creatures and interact with them. It would be a shame to lose them, wouldn't it? Thank you for being my emotional support butterfly. Wow, what a fantastic animal, isn't it? If you visit us at REGUA, there are so many butterflies that you can see here. And if you don't believe me, let me show you a compilation of some butterflies I've seen here at REGUA that are just fantastic. Let me show you right now.
Já foi paradinho na ponta do... Eles são tão humanos.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you the following question. How many tourist places destroy the environment? How many hotels are being built in places where forests were torn down? Tourism can be destructive for the environment. And that, my friends, is what I would choose to go to REGUA. If you need one compelling reason to come to this place, it is the fact that the money it makes from tourism is used to restore and conserve the land. Everything that I just showed you, from the researching butterflies and moths, the moth wall that attracts insects that people can study, from the protected wetlands to the reintroduction of the tapir, to buying up deforested lands and reforested them, a lot of this and these funds come from the tourists that visit this place. So if you're curious about REGUA, I think one of the main advantages of coming here is the fact that your money you will be spending here will be used for conservation. And that is a big pro. Now, if you want to go to REGUA, there's only one thing that you have to do. That is go to our website and send us an email. It is also possible to contact me privately. If you send me an email with a question about REGUA, I will redirect your email and forward it to the relevant people who can answer your questions. If you're interested in visiting this place, it is open to people who are studying biology, students who want to do their thesis or research here. It is very, very welcoming to researchers. Tourists are utterly welcome here. We get tourists from all over the world. America, Europe, the United States. Any tourist can visit this place. Last but not least, volunteers. REGUA is always looking for volunteers that can help for reforestation or in a tree nursery, for example. I think that for everybody and each own interest, there is something to find here. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. Last but not least, that is not all REGUA has to offer. There's also other patches of land and trails you can walk, including a waterfall trail. Let me give you some more impressions of the things that I have seen here. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Come to REGUA. Do it. Last but not least, if you don't have the time to come to REGUA, it's also possible to donate to REGUA. It's a charitable foundation that gets a lot of money from wildlife trusts and organizations helping to preserve its beautiful environment. If you go to the website of REGUA, it's possible also to make a financial contribution, which will help REGUA obtain more land and preserve the animals. Goodbye everyone, I hope you enjoyed the tour. This is where I'm going to spend a lot of my time and make a lot of outdoor videos. So I thought it makes sense that one of my first videos about this place is going to be a tour of the place so that you understand where I'm staying and what I am doing before I show you more wildlife. Last but not least, my YouTube channel is finally making a good impact for the environment. Helping as a volunteer at REGUA has changed my mind about a lot of things, and I'm happy that I directly and indirectly contribute to reforestation efforts and natural science. It is difficult, however, because my YouTube channel is completely and utterly demonetized. I don't make any money from making videos, which is a problem for me. YouTube refuses to tell me why my channel is demonetized. Therefore, I have crowdfunding. Donations are very important to this channel. My flight tickets to Brazil were paid for by my fans. And my stay in Brazil was also completely paid for by my fans. I'm not saying this to brag or to show off, by the way. But please realize that this collaboration with REGUA is only possible because of the people that donate to my YouTube channel. Without donations, I cannot continue my work. If you like the show, think about becoming a member of my Patreon or donating via PayPal. Crowdfunding is the only way to keep my channel alive and allows me to help the environment and raise awareness for projects like REGUA. That's a win-win situation, isn't it? Bye bye, hope to see you again. Find the Brazil playlist on my YouTube channel. If you enjoy my adventures in Brazil, I made a special playlist for them.